Before we dive into today's conversation, I have an exciting reminder for all my fellow designers and decorators. If you're ready to take your interior design business to the next level in 2025, the Profit Academy for Interior Designers is open and ready when you are. This 6-week online course is designed to help you increase your profits, take control of your business, and charge what you are truly worth. The best part? You can do it at your own pace. So whether you need it to fit into your busy schedule or you're ready to dive in and start making changes today, the Profit Academy is ready for you. With the Profit Academy, you will get a step-by-step roadmap to running a profitable design business, proven price strategies to increase confidently and profitably charge for your time and your designs, templates, worksheets, real-world tools to streamline your workflow, and the flexibility to complete the course on your schedule, because your business should work for you and not the other way around. If you're ready to get started, head to the link in the show notes, and in just 6 weeks, you could be running a more profitable and efficient design business. Now, let's get ready to talk to today's incredible guest. Hi there, interior design lovers. Welcome back to the Business of Beautiful Spaces, the podcast where we blend design inspiration with all behind-the-scenes tips and tricks you need to thrive in your business. I'm your host, Laura Thornton, and with over 27 years in this interior design game and running a 7-figure design company, trust me, I've seen it all. I want to be your interior design bestie. I want to help you build the business of your dreams, make more money, and yes, ditch the stress along the way. I've been doing this for a long time, and now I'm sharing my knowledge with all of you, my fellow designers and decorators. All I ask in return is that you like, review, and follow this podcast wherever you listen so other designers can find us and learn more too. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into making 2025 your best business year yet. Welcome back to the show. Today we've got a special guest whose talents lies in turning beautiful design into powerful storytelling and helping interior designers not just stand out, but also get booked. I'm thrilled to welcome Elle Kwan, ocean lover, bookworm, Brit-born creative who now calls Hong Kong home. With a decade of experience writing for luxury magazines, Elle knows exactly how to bring elegance, emotion, and editorial suavity to the digital space. She now works with interior designers to craft websites that don't only look amazing, but actually convert. And in today's episode, Elle is pulling back the curtain on the game-changing strategy of how to follow up and turn some of these starry-eyed interests that we get, whether that's DMs, a phone call, email inquiry about people who might be interested in working with us, but let's turn those into booked projects, all while doing it on autopilot using simple, smart email sequences. If you have ever had a potential client ghost you after a great discovery call, or you're just tired of tracing the leads manually, this is your sign to lean in and take notes. So let's dive in. Before we dive in, I am so excited to share a special invitation with all of you that on May 13th, 2025, from 9:30 until 12, we are teaming up with the incredible team at Decorest for a fabulous Designers Day at their showroom and their factory located in Woodbridge, Ontario, and you're invited. So we are going to kick things off by connecting with fellow designers over a delicious continental breakfast. Yes, the coffee and all the yummies are included, followed by a special presentation from yours truly, Laura Thornton, where I am going to bring you information on strategies for building a profitable interior design business, because you know I am all about helping you turn your creativity into revenue. So then we're going to be inspired as the Decorest team gives us a peek into all the latest trends straight from High Point and the Milan furniture market. Think exclusive insights that you will not find anywhere else because they will have just returned from doing both of those shows. And you'll also get an exclusive tour of their plant and their showroom so you can see firsthand the craftsmanship that Adelia and I talk about today, and that goes into each and every piece of furniture they make. And to top it all off, because Decorest is so generous, there are prizes and a little post-event social time to connect, chat, and celebrate the amazing design community that we are all a part of. So here's the deal. Seats are limited, and trust me, the Mazzilli family at Decorest goes all out for these events, and they plan everything based on the RSVP count. So if you sign up, please, please, please show up. They truly put their hearts into these gatherings, and it'd be absolutely lovely to see all of you there. So please come for the breakfast, stay for the inspo, and leave with ideas and maybe even a prize that you could take your business to the next level. So I really hope that we get to see you in Woodbridge on May 13th. I will have everything in the show notes of who you need to contact to secure your seat. Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Beautiful Spaces. Welcome, Elle. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Can you start off by telling us a bit about your background and what led you to specialize in the email marketing for interior designers? Or
Yeah,
what
sure.
inspired you to deal with interior designers? Because we're a fun bunch, I know, but we're also can be very difficult.
You know what? I actually started my career in luxury magazines. So I was a writer on the editorial side. Luxury lifestyle is what I was writing, so it's what I knew. When I had my babies, I went into much more digital marketing and actually worked for a global non-profit. And that's when I learned the power of conversion, using writing to convert rather than entertain. Or, they bridge two sides. So you want to entertain and convert really for that kind of writing. Um, and then, my kids are older now and I wanted a little bit more flexibility. So I started writing and I really was wondering who would be good to work with. And at the same time, at the non-profit, I had inherited a website, which I hated. It was awful. But, it was a large part of what I did. Everything happened on that website. We were selling courses on there. We were writing blogs. We were doing landing pages. So I kind of had to figure it out. But I never thought I would work in websites. Anyways, at the same time I started on taking, writing clients, um, I discovered this amazing website platform called Show It. And it's really like the Canva of website designs. It's real drag and drop. And actually, I think it was created for photographers originally. So it has great design capabilities. And all of a sudden, I was thinking, wow, well, I can really bring an editorial look here. Who would this work with? Who could I work with? And I was thinking about all these, people that I'd worked with in luxury, and I was like, I think this will be perfect for interior designers. And then when I looked on current interior designers' websites, there was a lot missing from what I had learned about the conversion side of things and the storytelling side of things. Um, Though basically a lot of them function still as online portfolios. Um, and there's just so much more to interior designers than that, right? I mean, the work is huge. It is what people are looking for, but they want to be romanced as well. And I don't know more passionate people than interior designers. They're so passionate about what they do. They're so into, facets of beauty and space and our world that we live in. And I it all came together in one kind of beautiful package that way.
It's funny that you say that because I was at a past client's place this past week because now we're going to do a new project. And she said to me, because you and I were talking just before we hit record, I'm leaving on vacation. So I was explaining to her, I'm leaving on vacation. So I won't be able to get this back to you until XYZ. And then she said, I love when you travel and when you show pictures on your Instagram because you see, and then I write little things. And she's like, I'm looking at something completely different. And then the way you see the world as an interior designer, when you write your little captions, and then I look over at the nuance in this little thing that I totally didn't see or didn't notice. And then you make me look at the picture in a different way. And so she said, I love the lens of
Exactly.
how designers' eyes. And so when you said that, I'm like, it's true. We do see we do see things differently. And we are control freaks, which I'm sure you know after working with designers. And so we think we know
Yeah.
best about how we want our story to be told. But I can imagine that, of course, as an expert like yourself, you will tell us, pump the brakes, trust in the process, and let me take it from here. So, knowing how we are and knowing that we will probably not say that at first, why is it crucial for designers to trust someone to take over that element and to stop being so controlling about the narrative of our business?
Well, I think narrative is really important. And in my process, I'm certainly doing a very in-depth interview with the interior designer, those close to the interior designer. So I'm very aware of getting to know what's going on in your mind and your business and why you're doing what you're doing. But then I will often speak to past clients and hear their side of the story because you have to think when people are just finding you, even if you've been referred by their best friend, they might still be coming to you for the first time. And they have things in their mind that they want answered. Basically, anyone that's searching for someone is looking for some answers. So it's kind of figuring out, well, where are they in the process of hiring? Are they right at the start? Are they pretty close to the end? And what questions that they have, and how can we answer them? And then, anything like, I mean, Instagram, you mentioned. It's a puzzle, right? It's a puzzle of content, what you're doing, whether you're doing feeds or carousels or reels. And it's the same with a website as well. It's a kind of it's a bit like a well-designed space. You kind of don't notice all the work that goes into it when it all comes together and it dazzles at the end. But when you start to look at the individual elements and how they all play together, it's a real puzzle, and it takes an expert. I mean, I would never, I love design, but I would never say, let me design it like this. When I'm working with an interior designer, they're the expert, right? And I think it's the same with any kind of storytelling or messaging. Bring in an expert to really draw out your messages, and also to marry that with what your potential client's looking for as well. And romance a bit. Everyone
Hmm.
loves that.
Thought it was interesting that you said that you asked to interview past clients because I guess that's more like the reviews that we ask for at the end of a project. But
Mm.
you're going to talk to them, which, when we ask them questions, I always think this is probably null and void because they know I'm going to read it. So they're always going to be a little a little more kind. I'm assuming anyway, right? Like you always think, is this real? Like, am I really getting? So when you speak to past clients, do you find they're more honest with you to get a truer sense, or could it potentially be eye-opening for the designer? Because I imagine that my perception is different than their perception of even myself.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, everyone's got their own take on how a project runs. And I think the way that you question people, I mean, I love people, I love interviewing people. And I think the way that you can question them can be very helpful in painting scenes. What were the things that surprised you about the project? What were the things, where did she push you where you might not have gone? Where did you resist and why was that? All of this kind of really getting into, well,
Hmm.
finally, what was the end result? It can be very illustrative. And also, they don't talk in jargon, they talk in real people's talk. And you can really use some of what they say in what you then write to newer clients. So if they say, she was a master of color and I would never put red and pink together, but it looks stunning. You can easily say, did you ever think to put red and pink together
Hmm.
in something you're writing? It's just pulling out these notes of interest that kind of spark someone's
Sure, and it makes you stand out
curiosity.
up
Makes
against
you
somebody.
stand
If
out.
someone's reading and they're down to two or three websites that they're reading through, and yours stands out a little bit different than everybody else's for sure. So, Elle, what other services do you offer? Because I know we're just
Right.
focused on the one, but I know you have many. So, can you tell me what else that you offer to interior designers?
Yeah, sure. So I do website design and copywriting. So I'll do the whole website and anything you read on the website. I will do conversion email marketing. So basically any kind of follow-ups that you want done for your business. And it can be kind of the sales side, nurturing people that you've met and who may be interested, but they're just not interested yet, and you want to keep in touch with. Or it can be, really, how do I make this process of client onboarding smooth? Where are my responses? What do they say? It can be that kind of side as well. I also can create, they tend to call them in marketing talk, like the lead generator or the lead magnet, something that maybe you offer in exchange for an email. And very often, there's 100 ideas of what you could offer.
Hmm.
Um, but I have a favorite one that I think works super effectively. And that's just the portfolio, actually. I mean, most people, when they're coming to you, or even if they've gone to Architectural Digest or something like that, they've gone on one of those big sites. They're looking for pictures, they're looking for inspiration, they want to know more. And you can show a certain amount on your website, you can show a certain amount on Instagram. Certainly Instagram's always drawing, a visual kind of idealist. But those can be fragmented. So the portfolio is really your chance to blow their socks off, right? You take the 3 to 5 projects that you love, that you really want to do more of, that really captures the essence of what you do, and you make that your download. And because of my history with the storytelling as well, I think make those into case studies, make them into mini magazine pieces, really draw the reader in. What was the problem? How did you go about solving it? What were some key pieces? Exactly like they might be reading on a magazine site of the same nature. And then, include a little bit about yourself. This would be a great place to talk about the big questions, if you have starting prices, if you charge for a discovery call or booking, um, how long a project takes. Those are the big questions that everyone wants answered when they're seriously considering working with an interior designer, right? How much is it going to cost me and how long is it going to take? What discomfort is there going to be? So it's a good place to kind of appease and confront some of those kind of questions that they have and answer them in a really nice way. But, we all know that not everyone's ready to jump in right now. I think actually there's some statistic that says it can be over a year, right, of someone first discovering you to hiring you as an interior designer. Maybe it's even longer. So this is a great way that you can send them that initial kind of portfolio, but then use your emails to kind of keep in contact with them and make it on autopilot. So it's going out, you can set it, those gentle nudges and reminders. I'm still here. Do you have questions? Can I answer? I'm a big fan of like always be inviting like the next step. So this is a really great way to do this.
I love that idea. And no one's ever said that before, that in exchange for your email, I'm going to send you my portfolio. Like, and I love that it's a case study and you get more information and you can explain more, because a picture's a picture without any explanation. Like we did a client's home last year that they had built their home during COVID, because a year before COVID, their home literally blew up on a street that had a gas explosion. And
Wow.
like the whole story, every time she would talk about it, it gave me chills. And like when you just see the room, yes, the room is pretty. But when you know the story about why it's so important to them to have this family room for their family of 5, because 4 people were home when the house next door exploded. They're lucky to be alive. They lost everything they ever owned. Like it's more than the sofa and the 2 chair and the TV. It
Yeah.
literally is the hub of their home, and it meant so much to them. And I know that that's extreme, but when you know the story about why they wanted this family room to be a certain way, the family room is so much more impactful. So you could tell this story and show the before and afters, and like you can get so much more out of just this space if you knew the story about why it is that that was chosen the way it was, or why certain fabrics are what. And I know it's an extreme case, but I just think it touches in a
Yeah,
different
and
way.
it works for any case, right? It could work for, the only thing they wanted to keep in this house was this old cabinet. And we didn't, it belonged to the grandmom or the great grandmom,
Mm-hmm.
or it came from
Mm-hmm.
Ireland. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we didn't know how it would fit with the rest of the design, but look what we did with it. We made
Right.
it the
Exactly.
center of it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you're
And
an
you
interior
hope they
designer,
read
you
it,
tell
but yes.
stories.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
tell stories. Every place has a story, and I think it's about, as the reader, you start to see yourself in these stories. What would my story be? What would I keep? What would I do? You know,
Yeah.
and that thinking is what you need to be happening in a kind of sales process. So you're really kind of advancing that sale
I
as
think it's a
well.
really great idea. I think you probably have a lot of people listening who are like, that is such a good idea, the portfolio, instead of like teaching something or a welcome guide or whatever. It's such a great tool. So I love that. That's a really great actionable item. And why is it crucial for interior designers as business owners to embrace the email automation that you just referred to?
Yeah.
Like, or the follow-up process, because we all know that basically by engaging with someone, we're buying time back into our day.
Yeah.
But there's obviously going to be some key benefits to having someone else man this for us in a way that We as business owners and running around like this morning when you and I first came on, I'm like, I'm sorry, it's Monday morning. You won't even believe the morning I'm having. We've had an ice storm in Toronto. I can't get trucks play. Like I am running. It's 9:51 for everybody listening on a Monday morning, and I've been at my desk since 7, literally putting out fires because of this ice storm, and we can't get into a cottage that we're working on, and there's a kitchen being delivered today, and we're trying to stop trucks. Like these are the things that get in the way of if I had somebody inquire this morning into my business, they are not getting looked at.
Yes.
Probably not today or tomorrow. So these are the things where all of a sudden, who's going to manage that for you? So this is where I want to talk about the service that you,
Yeah,
because we are all
exactly.
used to how a day goes hard left, like this morning.
Oh,
So
boom.
I know,
What you said
literally.
was best made plans. You can try and plan for anything, and it was still going balls up.
Yeah.
I think the
So
best way is to automate it really, and there's tech where you can do it. But it's so what you would do is make this some kind of downloadable file. So you build the portfolio, even if it's a PDF, you can make it, look super gorgeous. And then you set it up so that they plug in their email, and then you set the email to send that out for you. And then I think you should have probably 3 to 5 emails in this kind of chain that
like
you
a
have.
sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, like a sequence. And so the first one is simply that you want to make it swift and easy. Just welcome them. I think this is a great time to say, congrats to you. You are taking the next step, and we couldn't be happier to share our work with you. Here's who we work with. We would love you to look at this project, the one with the grandma's cabinet, take a look, download it. In that email, you really just want to encourage them to take a look. And then, of course, always be inviting. So still have, if you're interested in the next step, whatever that may be, use my calendar, book a call, whatever it is that you have in your business already. Then you can send it the next day, you can send it 3 days after, but set it to send. And send them something that's a bit more personal about you and your business, why you got into interior design, what sets you apart, you know, remind them. You might even want to say, here's the link for the portfolio in case you missed it, and just say you asked for it. I hope you had a chance to look at it. If you have any questions, reach out, but this is a bit more sharing the personal side of you. They've had a chance to read the other email about the work, and now this is about you. And then I would say for 3, you really want to start just kind of future pacing for them. So by now they should have looked at your portfolio, and maybe they've gone, no, this is not the person for me, and you never hear from them again. But hopefully what you're doing is you're sowing the seeds, and
Hmm.
so now they're like, well, okay, I do like this. I wonder, what would happen next? What's next in the process? How do they work? And that's a good place to answer those kind of questions in this kind of next email, so that, it might be take a look into our process. What can you expect for the next 3 to 6 months? What are the first 3 things we do? Anything that, is part of your process that can illuminate things for them. Often, it might be their first time working with an interior designer and they just really don't know how it works. Or it's another good place if you have, clients with burning questions, questions that come up all the time. Like answer those questions in this email. And then I would say after that, um, you really then want to say, I would love to speak to you. Let's book a
Right.
call, offer them the times, you know. And then, so if that's email 3, you could continue for 4 and 5 if you want. If you know that you only offer, really high ticket price and it takes a long time, or you have an audience that is indecisive, or you know something about them. But even after 3, you could just let it drop then. And after about 14 days, just send a reminder and say, oh, you asked for my proposal. I call this the shortest email in the world. And then you really just want to ask, are you still interested in an interior designer?
Right.
Formally, your name,
Yeah.
and it should elicit a yes or a no response because it's direct, it's not rude, but it's direct. And then it's up to you. If you don't hear anything, you could send one more and just say, okay, at this point, we'll close the conversation for now, but I'm always here if you want to get back to me. And then what I would do is have them kind of go on an evergreen list. So anyone that hasn't booked a call, put them on an evergreen list. The next time you do open house, the next time you finish a project, you have something to announce, let those people know. Because who knows what's happened in their life? Their
Right.
neighbor's house next door could have blown up. They got other stuff going on.
Right.
You don't know, right?
Yeah. Well, and
So it's
even
worth,
just leveling up, like what an elevated experience right from go to have
yeah.
all of that automated. But also we do a newsletter every month to our clients that they could just go on that evergreen list and then they get that reminder. And it doesn't mean that maybe they were premature or maybe something like, the political right now, like the political world shifted, people are afraid to spend money. Maybe they're going to hold off and just see how everything plays out. And then in 6 months, you're like, you know what? She was the one that stayed consistent. You're top of mind. You're still in my inbox. You'll get the call. Because, like, to your point, like it
Exactly.
could be a year out and they're just doing some due diligence or they're still mulling about something or life gets in the way. You never know. You never know where it might lead.
Exactly. And I
And
think
Elle, do
that's,
you,
I
sorry.
mean, you asked me, why is email a good idea? And I think that's exactly why it's a good idea. It feels more personal. You're still taking up a little part of their day, but it's so much more focused than an Instagram post. And I think they say now Instagram posts, it really goes to such a small percentage of
Mm-hmm.
your audience, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes up such a large chunk of
So
time to
true.
produce. And people have a bit of a block around email. Oh, it's a lot, I can't do it. But actually, once you get those things in place, then it really could be as simple as something you might post on email, on Instagram, just put in an email. If it is a new project, or if you are, installing the stone today, it could be that in an email once a month, as you said. But
Mm-hmm.
it's got a much more personal touch to it. And you're not at the control of an algorithm. No one can suddenly decide
Yes.
to shut down that social
Yes.
media.
Well, it
So there's,
changes so rapidly. Who can keep up? That is somebody's literal full-time job in many, many places that I don't know how you keep up. Like every time I turn around, they're like, well, they've changed the algorithm. I'm like, whatever. Like I don't care anymore. So you not only write all of these posts and these emails, do you also set all this up? Because someone like me is, meantime, you're talking, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start with like what app do I need to buy now? What is needed? Where this is something where you're a one-stop shop. Someone could call you and say,
yeah,
I want to start this automation situation, and you just take it from there. This is not something where they need to, like, you literally are buying them back time. They can just have
yeah,
you all up
absolutely.
and approve the verbiage and okay, got it. Because that to me is a
Yeah.
dream. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have time to figure out one more thing. So that's why I was like, what you're talking, I'm like, this sounds lovely, but who has to figure this out?
No
All
one has
you.
to figure it
Okay.
out. I
Got it.
would
Okay.
like when I work with clients, I do all of the interviewing so I know what to put in those emails
Right.
and then I automate it and set it up for them.
Okay. So you answered like four questions for me right there, which is amazing. So then, um, how do we then, I know that email is so easy for us, and I think it's also an age thing. I have a lot of clients who are older. And if I
Mm,
email them, even when we work together and I email them, it could take 3 days to get an answer on something. Now,
mm,
I'm in my 50s now, and there is something to be said about a phone call and the
yeah.
human connection. Can you tell me at what point in that sequence, should there be a phone call at
Oh, there
all? Or is
totally
that
can.
too, like,
Yeah.
direct for people? They want the innocence of, or the obscurity, I guess, if you will, of being behind the computer.
Yeah, you're right. I do think there's an age kind of divide, maybe, that, someone in their 30s probably doesn't even know how to find the phone function on their phone
Yeah.
to call someone. So some of it is just a little bit about determining who your clients are. And the great thing, you just said, you outlined, well, I know my clients, they like a phone call, or I like to phone them. And I think that's
Some.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that in the email one right from the bat. You can book a call here, or you can request a call back here. and put a phone number in there. Like all of that's fine and should be tailored to who your kind of
Yeah.
client is and what they prefer.
Gotcha. And then can you share for us, I don't know if I want to call it a success story, but like I guess the real benefits of the automation for the interior designer and handing it off. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just on autopilot, really. Once you have that calendar set up, or if you have someone to answer phones, or whether you're answering your phone, that's what you're doing. You're not, and you can share that link anywhere. So if you're networking outside, if you meet someone at the school's show who's interested in interior design, you can say, "Oh, give me your email address. I'll send you my portfolio." And start the transaction off like that. It just cuts down on a whole lot of work.
yeah,
Otherwise, you know, I think the chain is really that if you're on any kind of social, great. But a lot of interior design is referrals, it's friends telling friends, it's I heard about you in this place, or you're giving a talk. It's face to face, right? And I think then just getting them to that place where you're housing the link, it feels like a very personal invitation into your world. Just get to know me better, but on your terms. So I think that's the nicest thing that it offers is that it's a great way to get to know each other without investing a lot of time. You don't have to play with this, an algorithm. You
right.
are, you are, you're just extending the invitation. It's classy.
I also think too, there is something to be said because the chat GPTs of the world, or whatever we want to call them, you can tell when somebody has used them. You can tell the lack of tone and the lack of personability. And so I think there is something to be said about spending time with someone and then having someone write for you with your tone or with your verbiage, or whether you're a cheerful person or whether you're super professional, or whether so to have this like blanketed,
Yeah.
emoji infested fonts, like this is the thing that I think is starting to show up, and this is where
Yeah.
there's going to be a difference versus someone who plugs something in, pops it on. There is no personality in it when you work with
No,
someone who knows how to write and can write in a way that is compelling. I think there is value in that 100% over and over and over again.
and the clients that you're working with tend to be, cultured. They read good things. They do good things in their lives. They
Correct.
know
Yeah.
the difference.
Yeah.
So it really is about serving them well as well. It's hard with ChatGPT because I think we saw this incredible rise, this popularity. Oh my God, it writes everything for me. It's amazing. I jumped in as well. I was like, how does this work? How does this work? But I think we've hit a bit of a plateau now
Hmm.
because maybe it's just feeding itself. We've put in all these prompts, it kind of knows what we want, but it's not really advancing. And you're right,
There's
now
no personality.
so easy to spot.
Yes. Yeah.
And the
It's
same
a gift.
cliches come up again and again. And it's like,
Yes. And
okay.
again, this is like your potential client's first impression of you.
Yeah.
Forget your
Yeah.
business. Most of us, our business is our name. So this is their first impression. And you don't get to do a first impression a second time. It's a one and done. So if
Exactly.
that's what I always say about people's foyers. Like, this is your first impression to your home. So if we
Yeah.
don't do it well, you don't get to do it again. So this is the first time you're going to have somebody place eyes on you and your business. Do you not want that to be original and unique? Because that is what we do. That is what
Yeah.
designers do. So
Absolutely.
I keep that in mind, anyone listening. Like, if you want to tackle something yourself, you really want to make sure that, you're showing your business and yourself really well, as opposed to engaging
Exactly.
with someone like
Yeah.
Elle who, does this for a living, and, this is your expertise. Just like we know
I
what
think
we
you
do.
exactly,
Yeah.
just as what you said, when you read something and it doesn't really hit home, you know that there hasn't been a lot of care taken
Hmm.
with it.
That's exactly
And
what I think it looks like
yeah,
too. Yeah.
I think, in a sea of designers, if you want to stand out, you have a voice, you have a point of view. It's why you do what you do. So why wouldn't you, make that alive and very visible in your business as well, right from the communication beginning.
Yeah. I've always said for years, decades now, which is sad but true. I've always said, if you want what your neighbor has, I'm not the right designer for you. Like, I
Oh,
don't
see,
want to give you what everybody else has. That to me, you don't need me. You can just go to the local retail store and get what your neighbor has. And so that's the same thing when it comes to like a website or anything that represents me or my company. I try to make sure that we stand out and that we're elevated. And that to me is always the goal. From
that's
like I
funny.
still
That
do
is one
business
of
cards, and I still have a business card that every time someone touches it, they say, "Wow, this is a nice business card." And I'm like, "That's right." Like everything about us, we want you to have that response. Wow, this is really nice. Like I'm dumbing it right down, but that is to
no,
like the
you're
same
so
thing
right.
with yeah,
One of the questions I always ask is there something you often say? Or I ask the people around you, what phrases is she known for? Because
yeah,
that's you. That makes you
yeah,
stand out. And if I hear that and that's what I want, connection
yeah,
straight away.
yeah, yeah.
And that's a
Well, thank
seller.
you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, listen, where can listeners find you? Like Instagram, all the things, websites, where can they find you?
Well, I am on Instagram, although I lurk more than I post, I will say. It's at I'm Elle Kwan. And my website is easy because that's also elkwan.com. So super easy to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn. Or email, come say hi if you want. I actually have a monthly drop by session where you can come and ask any question you have about a website.
That's fun.
Or email copywriting or platforms, anything that you're struggling with, telling your story. So you can sign up on the website and come say hi.
Nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here today and teaching us all kinds of good stuff.
Thank you so much. I hope you found it useful.
I sure did, and I know everyone else will too. That sequence is amazing. I love your portfolio thing. The freebie is a great idea. So thank you for that.
If you want, maybe I could put together some kind of template